Doug Pederson has a massive challenge ahead of him with what has happened with this organization, especially after the Urban Meyer disaster. So let's take a look at the 2022 Doug Pederson Jacksonville Jaguars, who will be the Eagles' opponent in Week 4 of the season at Lincoln Financial. Will be the second home game of the year for the Eagles. Take a look at this. Listen, no question, the biggest hiring at head coach at that organization has had since Tom Coughlin is Doug Pederson. So we're looking forward to it. By the way, we are going to preview Week 4 now because we've been going through all the teams that the Eagles are going to play. And today, it's Doug Pederson's Jacksonville Jaguars. Can Doug turn that franchise around? I'm going to talk about the Jags here in a second, and we'll get the perspective here a little bit on where I think that franchise is going. Let me say this to you, okay? Doug Pederson is the best hire the Jacksonville Jaguars have had since Tom Coughlin. And I would say since Tom Coughlin first time around. When Tom helped build that organization the right way, Tony Baselli was the number 1 overall selection by the organization. They went out, got a free agent quarterback, and Mark Brunell from the Green Bay Packers brought him in. And they really won a lot of ball games. That was a really good era of football that they had with Fred Taylor and those guys. That Jags football team, little bit, tiny bit with Doug Marrone, not a lot. But really, Tom Coughlin, when he first initially got that coaching job and was really in charge of the personnel, that was a pretty good football team. And they got off to a really good start. You know, the one thing that they did for that Jacksonville team that they didn't do for the Buccaneers in Seattle, they gave them a chance to compete. Also Carolina, too. Let's not forget Jake Delhomme got to a Super Bowl. Jake Delhomme was a heck of a football player, okay? So those organizations, Carolina more so than anything, has had a decent run for being one of the latest expansion teams. However, the Jaguars have been a train wreck. I saw something with Jaguar fans that Doug Pederson's going to have to deal with here, okay? Here's one thing's for sure, okay? If you put Gator tickets on the table, or you put Jacksonville Jaguar tickets on the table, what do you think that community in Jacksonville and the surrounding parts are going to pick up? What would you think that most of the fans there? I've had this question asked to me, and I already know it. If I put Jacksonville Jaguar 2022 Doug Pederson tickets on the table, and I had Florida Gator tickets right next to him, what do you think the fan base in that area would grab? They would grab Gator tickets. 75,000 at the Swamp all the time. All the time. 75 to 80,000 fans are in that building at all times. It's a Gator country. Gator, Bulldogs, then Jaguars when we're talking football, okay? Maybe even Florida State would rival a little bit of Jaguar fan base. Can he change that dynamic? We'll see. Professional football in Jacksonville has not been a fan-friendly thing. Doug's got quite a task. He goes from a city like Philly, where the Eagles are everything, to a city you would think in the South, in the deep South, where pro ball would mean everything. It doesn't. It's college football. Jacksonville is Gator country. It's not Jaguar country. He's got to try to change that around a little bit. So we're going to get into that here in a minute. I do want to go back to this thing here. I know the Madden thing's kind of like, it's kind of hokey. It's a game, this and that. But this is what I was talking about yesterday. Tone, I was talking about this. You know what the biggest nightmare would be for Howie Roseman and the Eagles? Is that you don't take advantage of A.J. Smith and Devontae, or A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That's the biggest nightmare. That's the biggest nightmare. You put a first-round draft choice up with Devontae Smith, and you spent $100 million on one guy. And if that quarterback can't utilize those two guys and Dallas Goedert, Houston, you got a problem. You don't want to come away from this year with this. A.J. Brown's got a little over 1,000 yards and 68 catches and 6 touchdowns. That's a shitty year for that. I wouldn't accept that year. How about this? If A.J. Brown has 70 catches, 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns, that's a failure year. If Devontae Smith comes in at 70 catches with 850 or 870 or 900 yards, that's a failure year in year 2. It's not on him, I don't think. I think Dallas Goedert is going to turn into Zach Ertz. He's going to be a comfort zone. He's going to be a security blanket. He's probably going to catch 90 catches this year. I think Dallas Goedert has a chance of going 90 and 1,200 yards. I don't know how many touchdowns, but I think Dallas Goedert has a shot at 90 and 1,200 yards. I do. I think he's going to be utilized a lot in this upcoming offense. Howie's biggest nightmare, Silz, doing postgame. Thank you, sub. We're talking about Football Sunday Eagle streams with a full panel when season starts. No fishing on Sundays for football season. Maniac, absolutely, right? And if you do fish, you better get out early, right? Danny, hey, we're a week out now. It's time to stop talking shit on guys, making topics up, you know. We're in a holding pattern. I was telling Tone that. We're in a holding pattern here now. It's time to go to work. You got teams that having players show up today. Okay? Tanner, thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, guys. All right, I want to get into the Jaguars and Doug Pederson and his football team and what challenges he has moving forward. Look, I think that Shea Khan, the owner of the Jaguars, who is one of the richest owners in the National Football League, I think this guy truly wants to win, and I believe that this guy truly wants to keep the team in Jacksonville. I think it was a massive mistake to put a football team in Jacksonville. They've really never embraced it. I told you a little bit about why they haven't embraced it. It's Gator country. You know, they play on the same grounds as the old Gator Bowl. They've never just been able to really shake the Gators loose and never been able to really be a football team that has galvanized the community. You know what's great about it, though? When they do win, they do show up. When you have things in the building that people want to come and see, when they had Fred Taylor, the great running back from the Gators, who was a borderline Hall of Fame type player, and they had guys like that on the football team, people went and saw the game, especially when they started winning. A lot of fans showed up. It's been very sparse in between the winning and losing. I think they had a pretty good run a couple years ago. I think they beat the Steelers up at Heinz and played in an AFC championship game. I think Blake Bortles was the quarterback of that team, if I'm not mistaken. However, Doug Pederson has a massive challenge ahead of him with what has happened with this organization, especially after the Urban Meyer disaster. So let's take a look at the 2022 Doug Pederson Jacksonville Jaguars, who will be the Eagles' opponent in week 4 of the season at Lincoln Financial. It will be the second home game of the year for the Eagles. Take a look at this. Listen, no question, the biggest hiring at head coach at that organization has had since Tom Coughlin is Doug Pederson. I think Doug brings calmness. I think Doug is going to bring a professionalism to the building that they haven't had since Tom Coughlin. I think there's also going to be accountability in this building. No coach in that building is going to ask you to do something that they haven't done or he wouldn't do. That's the beauty of having a coach that's played like Doug and been a backup and been a journeyman. I think that he is a coach who's not going to not listen to his players. I think what he does is he takes all the intel from his players and then he applies it accordingly. I really love how Doug Pederson runs a football team. And him and Howie obviously had issues on what was best for the football team on Sundays. Would you guys agree that Andy Reid and Doug Pederson, if you had to pick between those two guys to coach your football team, who would you pick? Would you pick Doug or Andy? What coach would you want building your team and coaching your team? Doug Pederson or Andy Reid? I'm not saying calling plays. I'm asking you about the whole thing. Reid, Dougy P. I would want Doug Pederson as my coach. I think Doug's got a good eye for talent. I think the players understand Doug. I think Doug, when the things were going bad, I'm going to take you guys back and you tell me if Andy Reid could have dug his way out. Here, let me ask you something here. How do you think Andy Reid handled the T.O. Donovan McNabb story when those guys were bickering? How do you think he handled that? How do you think Andy Reid handled that? Tone says poorly. Funny, Andy Reid never gets any heat for maybe he was one of the reasons why he never won a Super Bowl in Philly. Maybe he needed to be the go-between between those two to make it work. Let me tell you something. And I use my benchmark all the time with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy could coach Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. All three different dynamic of attitudes and personalities. He knew how to handle. Personally, I don't think Andy Reid handled that thing well. I don't think he knew what was best for his team when it came to the player side of it. He came as an administrator and a coach instead of being on the other side. How do you guys think Doug Pederson handled this? Let me ask you, David. Watch this. How do you think Doug Pederson handled when the reigning favorite to win the most valuable player blows his leg out in Los Angeles at the LA Coliseum? A guy who was on his way to winning an MVP award for the Eagles at quarterback. I don't know if you've ever had one. And he's right there, 11-2, 33 touchdowns. Incredible season. You're standing on that sideline. Every single player must have went like this. Holy shit. It's over. Oh my God. It's over. Adversity hits. What does Doug do? He rallies the troops. Guys getting hurt in the O-line. Musical chair. You know what's crazy about that 2017? Okay? You know what's crazy about that 2017 Super Bowl? It was musical chairs in the O-line. You guys were as healthy as you ever been last year, and you got bounced in the opening round. You guys were a mash unit in 17 and won the thing. That's coaching. Guys must have had their heads like this, man. Seriously, dude. Okay? That's a great take by Tone. Let me read this to you. Personally, I feel Reid would have panicked if he was in Doug's shoes the Super Bowl year. That's a spectacular take. And I agree. How many times have we seen Reid panic? He's not very good with timeouts and clock management at times. How about Doug looking over? Foles walks over to the sidelines. How about the Philly special? Run it. Dude, that guy, to me, man, I think Andy Reid is a better play caller. I do. But I think Doug Pederson's a better coach. I'd rather play for him. I would rather play for him. I'd rather play for Doug Pederson than I would for Andy Reid. Ed says Frank Reich is why we won the Super Bowl, not Doug. Doug brought Frank Reich in. Doug hired him. You also get credit for putting your staff together. I didn't say Doug called the Philly special. I said Foles did. How about the Philly special? Okay. I never said he did. Here's another one for Tone. Reed and the Chiefs panicked in the Tampa Super Bowl. They sure did. O-line got decimated, lost their tackles. Almost a carbon copy of what happened to the Eagles, right? And he couldn't figure it out. You guys were losing players in the O-line left and right. And you beat the GOAT. You beat the GOAT. Bashing Andy Reid? Not bashing Andy Reid. I'm making a preference point, Chris. Somehow, making a preference point is bashing? That I'd rather be coached and play for Doug Pederson than Andy Reid? Somehow you look at that as bashing. I look at that as a preference point. That's right, man. Andy Reid hasn't beaten Tom Brady. Went into your building and took the AFC Championship away from you too. Then how about Brady? So Brady walks into your building and takes the AFC Championship away from Andy Reid. Then he beats him in the Super Bowl too. You couldn't have two more important football games in your coaching career than the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl against that guy. Dude, it's one thing to beat Nick Foles. It's another thing to beat Tom Brady. Because that'll forever... Hey, Foles, you can call him sorry, sad, starting quarterback, all this and that. I know I'm supposed to be talking about the 2022 Jags, and I'm going to get back on track here. But to say that I'm the Super Bowl MVP and I beat Brady is quite a testament. It's quite a testament. Flex goes, Andy Reid beat Tom Silz the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I'm talking about two of the most important games that you could possibly have. Okay? In your building. I get it. He has. Foles better than Wentz? Absolutely not. I know, Chris. It's exactly what I said. I watched the Super Bowl 4 days ago. The Eagles team was lit. They were great. Doug instilled the play into the playbook. Yeah, but man, Foles walked over to the sidelines and calls it. Come on, man. So that hire for the Jags is spectacular. Spectacular. The running game. See, I think the Eagles, when they play them in week 4, you're going to look at a pretty decent offense. Okay, Robinson, 2020, I believe he had 1,000 yards. You get Travis Etienne finally on a football field. So you're going to get Etienne, Robinson running the football. It's a pretty decent group. That's a good bet. I'll tell you this. The running back tandem in Jacksonville is better than the one that's in Philadelphia. Robinson's a former 1K runner. And Travis Etienne, in my opinion, can catch the ball out of the backfield. And also, we're talking about a guy who can run in between the tackles. So, to me, I think there's more talent in Jacksonville running the ball. Now, I'm not telling you they got a better O-line. I'm telling you as running backs, they got a better tandem. Okay? And I agree with you, Mike. Etienne was electric in college and played with Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, obviously. Now, look, the key is clearly going to be this, the O-line. There's no doubt about it. The O-line is going to be the separating difference between the Eagles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Eagles are the best in the business, and the Jaguars, will be good because of Doug. Doug's going to take that same mentality that was in that Eagle front office, knowing you've got to have strength on both sides of the ball, your fronts. He knows that. That's going to be a priority, and it was addressed in the draft. I'm going to get to that here in a minute. Obviously, I'm going to make a prediction to you here today. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a top 10 quarterback. I do. They don't have household names at the wide receiver position or the tight end position, but I think there's going to be stability in play calling and situational play calling that's going to benefit the strengths of what Trevor Lawrence is all about. I think it was so chaotic offensively last year. When I watched Trevor Lawrence play, I had no idea what they were trying to accomplish. I couldn't tell if they were trying to establish a running attack. I couldn't tell if they were trying to establish a screen game. It was so all over the joint. There was never any continuity and really when the Eagles had to figure out when they were 2-5 that they had to run the ball, there was an identity built in the building. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to take the ball out of the hands of Jalen Hurts. The same way they took the ball out of the hands of Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. And they're going to run the ball. Why wouldn't you? Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. When those guys ended up getting injured, Brown's season went to shit. Okay? They were 2-5. They were throwing the football. They stopped throwing the football. They started winning ball games. That's what happened. There was an identity being built. When I watched the Jaguars last year, okay, when I watched them, I couldn't tell what they were trying to accomplish. One game they're here, one game they're there. They put a lot, in my opinion, on Trevor Lawrence last year. I think Trevor Lawrence is one of the most gifted, talented athletes I've seen come out of college at that position in a long time. He's got every attribute. The question is he going to be able to process the intel like some of the greats? That's the issue here with him. He's got the same physical capabilities as Vinny Testaverde coming out of college. But is he going to have the brains of Tom Brady? Is he going to have the awareness of understanding where to go with the ball and pre-snap reads and all that other? He's got to show us that he can see the field. Kid's one of the biggest guys going, and there's talent. Let me throw some of the names here too. I mean, Christian Kirk, these guys are not household names, like I said. Okay? They're not. The tight end, the kid Ingram, I think that kid comes over from the Giants. These are not household name guys, but they've got players on the team and on offense. I think they're going to move the sticks. Look, I'll bury the lead here. I think the Jags are a 6-win team. Okay? If I had to take the over-under on them right now, I would say because it's Doug, take the over on the 6. Could they get 7? We never know how the season plays out. We just really don't. Okay? GT Hurts has everything you just said. He does not have an arm. He does not have arm ability. He does not. And throwing it 100 miles or throwing it 100 yards is not arm talent. That is not arm skill. He's not a professional thrower. If you took his running ability away from him, he couldn't play in the Canadian League. He has never won a game throwing the ball. That team was built on running it. Okay? It's built on running it. You think he's Trevor Lawrence skill set wise? 6'7", 235, and has all the attributes coming out of college. They compare him to Jim Kelly coming out of college and John Elway. I didn't hear anybody talking about Jalen Hurts in those comments. I'll take Foles any day. Leave my opinion alone. My guy Foles is a legend in Philly. He is. He'll never not be. Can't take that away from him. Okay? Merrill told you that he had a pro arm. Really? I named you every single football team last year that a guy had more arm talent than. There were only 5 teams that he could play on right now. He doesn't have the arm talent. And that arm talent is accuracy. That arm talent is knowing where to throw the ball, leading your receivers, pre-snap reads. All of that plays into arm talent. And you know the number one thing doesn't play into it? How many rushing touchdowns you had. That has nothing to do with it. Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts. Whew. You're right. I can't wait for the season to start. 6'6", 220. Give me a – and can run. William goes, why does Silz hate Hurts so? I got you winning the NFC East and going to the NFC Championship game. How is that hating the quarterback? I think he's Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick got to a Super Bowl too. There's nothing wrong with that. You could get there with less guys. Nick Foles is less, shows you. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Okay, he's not. I definitely will. I'll bring that list up with Seth Joyner tomorrow when he's on the program. Arm talent includes arm strength. Dude, nobody cares if you could throw it 100 yards. They only care if you could throw it on time. Nobody in the NFL gives a shit whether you can throw it a country mile. They care you can throw it on time and make all the throws. That's arm skill. That's arm talent. Shit, he was beaten out by a guy with better arm talent in Alabama. That's a fact. And, it's funny. You guys make me turn around into this, and I'm talking about the damn Jaguars. You guys actually think Jalen Hurts is better than Trevor Lawrence and has more upside than Lawrence. My God. Holy cow, I can't wait for the season to start. For the Jags, okay? For the Jags. Tone says this. Question, is arm strength overrated? Tony, to be able to make all the throws, you have to have arm strength to throw the out with confidence. That's the toughest throw for quarterbacks coming into the pro game from the college game, is that throw to the outside when that guy's got to make the cut towards the sidelines. Because how many times you see corners jump the route when a guy doesn't have arm strength? He's under the Darrelle Revis made a career out of doing that. Baiting guys who he knew didn't have arm strength. Okay? So you have to have arm strength to make all the throws. But accuracy, I'd rather take Peyton Manning did not have arm strength. Everybody knows that. But he understood where to throw the ball. He threw to areas. Why do you think he practiced 1 billion times a day with his wide receivers? To make his arm stronger? No, so that they could go and be in sequence with one another, because Peyton didn't have the strongest arm. It was accuracy that they were working on, timing that they were working on. Your guy hasn't shown one ability to do that yet. And now, with the wideouts that they have, there's no excuses. Trevor has proven nothing. Neither has Jalen. Beat a team that's got a winning record. Win a game that matters. Don't be 3-4 in the NFC East. Don't throw for 200 yards a game in your 7 starts. Come on, man. You want me to go down the list? Chris, Kaepernick and Jalen's numbers are pretty comparable. Okay? Another great question by Tone. Which is it easier to build, arm strength or accuracy? See, I think it's easier to build arm strength than it is to build I think you're either accurate or you're not. I think that's an innate ability that certain guys have. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is 10 times more accurate than Tom Brady, but Brady's a superior quarterback. Why? His pre-snap preparation, his leadership, and the intangibles that you talk about with Jalen all connect and all collide with one another. Brady's the only guy I've ever seen collide them all. Leadership, hardworking, and ability and talent. He connects them all. Is he the most gifted strength of arm? No. Is he the most accurate? No. Is he the most pre-snap ready? Yes. Is he the best teammate of all time? Yes. Never heard a teammate talk shit on him outside of Psycho AB. No one. Brady makes it a priority. Jalen Hurts, if you want to say this, Jalen Hurts has all of Brady's intangibles except his ability. The Jaguars on defense. This will be the liability for Doug Pederson this year. They never put a really good game together at all last year, the Jags defensively. You know, they played the bend but don't break style of defense last year. And it just never really looked good. They addressed a lot of things in the draft, obviously. Tavon Walker, then they ended up getting Devin Lloyd also to try to improve the pass rush and try to improve the defensive line play. Look, I think Walker is a good football player, but boy, I'll tell you what, the number 1 overall pick in the draft, wow. And when you look at his production when he was at Georgia, you're like this, man, he's a really good player, but the kid that's there still today is a great player. The kid, what was his name? Wyatt? That kid could play. Jordan Davis, you know, when you look at the numbers of those guys that played on that electric defense, by the way, Jordan Davis had 43 starts and 9 sacks. I don't know. That doesn't seem overly productive. However, when you play on a talented defense like that and you got great players at every single position, including the safety and linebacker position, the Kobe Dean and all those guys, your numbers may be limited because of rotation too. Okay? They had a lot of stars on that. That was one of the best defensive football teams I've seen in a long time. I think Alabama's got one this year with Will Anderson on it. But, you know, will they improve? Anytime you add talent like this. Look, I like the kid Lloyd from Utah. We had Kyle Whittingham on the other day, and I was asking him questions about it. He goes, Silz, you're going to love this guy. This guy, I talked to Doug Pederson last week, he said, and Doug's in love with him. Doug's in love with the guy. So, Dan, should we all just crap on the quarterback of the team we love? No, I didn't tell you to crap on him. Didn't tell you to do that at all. One of us is going to be right or wrong here. See what I do, I have an opinion. I'm not a cheerleader. I think you have me confused with being a guy with pom-poms. I'm not a cheerleader. Never been one, even for my own team. Let me give you a little perspective of what happened to me when I was at the QAM in Miami. I quit on the air doing my post-game show that I was hired besides doing a Monday through Friday show from 10 to 1 p.m. And you know why I quit? Because I couldn't take lying about shitty football on my alma mater and going around telling everybody it was all good. Cost me a job. Then in the end, it cost me a job because back then, Al Golden and all those guys hated my analysis because I said the team sucked and is going nowhere under Al Golden. And that was the flagship. And that was my alma mater, who I love more than anything outside of my family. That's who I am. Okay? I don't sugarcoat anything. I tell you the way I see it. That's how I do things. Not always to my betterment. Okay? What's your point? Okay, you're talking to someone else. I do not. Hey, Master, why lie about something that you have a passion for? You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to see everybody win. Hey, and by the way, so everyone knows, I pray to God I'm wrong. I was wrong about Lamar Jackson. I couldn't have been more. Hey, Tone, you're going to love this. I said that guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He'll be out of the league in 5 years. You know what he did the next year? He went 14-2, led the NFL in passing touchdowns with 36, won a unanimous MVP award, and rushed for 1,400 yards. Here's Silz doing this. Hey, I couldn't have been more wrong about that guy. I couldn't have been more wrong. And some of you will go, well, you flip-flop. No, I was wrong. There's a difference when you admit you're wrong on something. I was wrong. I wasn't wrong on Baker Mayfield. I said the day he was drafted number 1 overall, I said that guy will not be the starting quarterback at the end of his contract. And they took a guy with 24 sexual assault cases against him and gave a guy a raise and $230 million. By the way, we got some information on that too. We're going to hear real soon. Okay? Tone goes, and that's why I respect you. Thank you, Tone. Tone, if Jalen Hurts throws for 4,400 yards and 33 touchdowns this year, and that football team wins 13 games, anybody in their right mind, and the old school idiot, you know what they do? They try to make a case on he still sucks. Like you hear Bayless talking about LeBron. LeBron's won 4 NBA championships. He's been a finals MVP. I mean, he's taken 3 different teams to the NBA championship. You would be an idiot to think that guy's not one of the best players in the history of the sport when it comes to Jordan or him. You're out of your crazy mind, whether you like LeBron or not. You can't deny the resume and the book he built. I don't care what you think about him as politics, whatever, hoop-wise, and as an ambassador to the game, James has been the best. Stuff he does in his hometown, putting that college and all those kids, free into college, all the things he does for the Boys and Girls Club of Cleveland. Come on, man. Stuff doesn't get reported. He's an ambassador. Do I like him? No. But do I love his life and what he's accomplished? Absolutely, man. The guy's built an entire resume of doing good things for others too, man. I mean, come on, man. I'm not like that. Why is it 50-50 on Hurts with everything? I don't understand what that means. Chris, thank you. Hey, Dank, LeBron, for people like Bayless to go, he doesn't have the clutch gene. He's got 4 NBA titles. I don't know how people listen to that. I'm like, okay, he's got how many finals MVPs too? Okay. Boy, you were super wrong. Hey, I really was, man. I couldn't tell you. I believe Hurts will part the Red Sea. It's not going to happen, but I still believe. KL, way to go, man. Way to be an Eagle fan. Hey, way to be an Eagle fan. Okay, so, look, I think the Jags, boy, man, you know what? I say take the over on the 6 wins this year. I'm doing that because I really have great respect for Doug Pederson. You know what I'm saying? I have great respect for Doug. But I got to say, man, 6 wins is probably all I really see this year in his first season as the head coach there in Jacksonville. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to make a gigantic leap, though, under him. I really do, man. I think he's going to have a really great year under Doug Pederson. Eagles football is less than a month away. Are you kidding me, man? 26 camp. Like I said to you, look at this already, brother. Easy money. Where is that? Here. Falcons, Ravens, Chargers, Dolphins, Patriots, Saints, Giants, Jets, Rookies and free agents show up today. They show up today. Okay? I mean, we're ready to rock and roll here, man. Don't forget Mario Cristobal. You guys want to know a little bit about Tyler Van Dyke? Okay. Once again, I want to talk a little Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Please hit the like button. We appreciate everybody hanging in there with us. We got everything back on track. Way to go, Tone. Way to go, Xander. By the way, our announcement today on having the best post-game show in Philadelphia is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Tone, throw that thing up one more time there, man. Just fantastic on what we're able to do. And like I said, too, we're going to talk with Seth Joyner. That'll be tomorrow. Look at this post-game show here, man. How great is that going to be? Devin's there, Seth Joyner, Mike Missinelli, D. Gunn. This is all going to be, in my opinion, all funneled into the JAKIB Sports channel here and what we've been able to accomplish. And it's really because of what you guys have done on us bringing all this superstar talent into our post-game show. So we really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Tone. Hour number 2 coming up. Keep it right here on the National Football Show.